Okay, so now in this example, what we're going to be doing is working with some line graphs, area graphs, along with figuring some trend and moving average analysis, all built in within the graph. And it's very simple stuff we can do, very easy, not too difficult at all to do. So what we have here is data from Sally's Seashell Sand Shelter sales. Yeah, I said it. For the whole year, monthly sales, 3 different territories that we're selling into. And we want to just kind of show that with a line graph. So line graphs are great for showing a time element. They're not really good. I mean, it's not that they're not good for anything else, but when it comes to showing how values change over time and showing that in a graph, the line graph is a great way of doing that. So what we're going to do first is we're going to select from over here at B2, go all the way across, and we're actually going to include the totals that we have here. So we're going to bring that down as well. So we've got that. I'm sorry, we want to do this. There we go. Then we'll go ahead and we'll click on to insert. We'll go over to our line graph area here, line charting. Then we're going to click on to the stacked line negatives of that. So the reason why I had selected the total as well as the regular data was because I knew that I would get this, and that'd be kind of cool to label and give us some totals. I'll go ahead and click onto the title, and then I'll go up on the formula bar, hit my equal, click onto my title there, enter it in, and then I can go ahead back to the home tab, make it bold, make it a little bit bigger. There we go. All right, now I can also take this and I'll put it back down below here, put about right there, and have it come out to about June there. All right, so there we go on that. I'm also going to take the legend and put that at the top. And I think I'll also click back onto here and make that just a little bit bigger. Make this just a hair bigger. All right, and I'm also going to make this, all right, I got it bolded, all right. And another interesting thing I can do too with this title is I can go up into the Format tab, go over here into the effects for the text, and go with shadow and do something like that and kind of give it kind of a three-dimensional look to it as well. All right, so that looks pretty good. Now, I want to put data labels on the total line here, so I'm going to go and just click onto that, go up into the elements area, and I'll go over to my data labels, and I'm going to go specifically over into the more options. That'll open up the panel there, and then what I can do is I can put the labels. Right now they're or they're I guess they're to the right of it. I want to put them above, something like that. And then I also want to flip them around so that they're vertical. And we're going to go ahead and make these about 270 there. That looks good. And while they're still selected, I'll make them bold, like that. All right, then I'll go ahead and click onto the line, like that. Then I can go back into the format, and I can go to the shape effects, and I can go and put a shadow on this one as well. All right, so kind of shadow it up a little bit. If I don't like the color, I mean yellow, maybe you get something a little bit more intense. We could go we could go wild and go with purple here, and I think that has a good effect to it. Now, because we have the total labels here, I have to tell you one thing about what we're looking at here. The lines here The first one, that's pretty about as close as being accurate as possible. When you look at the second and third lines here, these are stacked. And what's happening is that it isn't that the orange one for Tampa, let's say Tampa for January, it's not that that number is bigger than, let's say, Chicago's January. It's just that we've stacked the lines, and by stacking them, then the distance between the first and the second one, whatever that difference is the actual value. All right? We're not really that concerned about seeing the exact value here, because we can see that up in the numbers there. What we're trying to see is just how things went from January to February to March to April to May. Did they go up or down, or which way did they go? All right. But we still have at the top here the total. So all three of these would equal what you see that number as being. Now, of course, because this is a stacked line graph, the y-axis is kind of meaningless. So what we can actually do is just turn that off. We really don't need that. So what we'll do is we'll click onto it, and then we'll go to the elements. We'll go to the axis here, hit or axes, and we'll tell it that we don't need the vertical. And there we go. And that way it will save a lot of confusion. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and create a second graph that will be the same information that you see here, but if instead of it being a line graph, we're going to create an area graph. And the only difference between a line graph and an area graph is the area graph is filled in. So you're going to see this filled in almost like we're like little mountains stacked on top of one another. So we'll go back and we'll reselect our data. Just like that. And we'll go back in there and click on the insert. And now we'll go over to our line and area. And we're going to tell it we want to go with this one here. And this is going to be a stacked area. So it's basically like the stacked line, okay? It's just filled in like I was saying. So click onto that. I'll move this down, get it in position here. Something along those lines there, and then make this a little bit wider. And there we go. Now I'll go ahead and I'll fix this one up. I'll click on the title, click on the formula bar, hit equal, click onto the title, enter that in. That looks good. And then I'll go ahead, while it's still selected, hit home, make it bold, make it a little bit bigger. Oop. Like that. I can then go over to the format, go over to the text area there and give it some shadow. I've added the other one there. Okay. The other thing I want to do is put the legend at the top here. So I kind of moved over a little bit. This appeared. Click onto my elements. Go over to my legend right there. And tell it I want that at the top. We'll click onto that and make it just a tad bigger. There we go, and make it bold. All right. Now I can kind of doctor up the legend just a little bit with some formatting by clicking onto it, going over to the Format tab here, hitting Format Selection, going over here to my effects, and go with the shadow, and there's some presets here. I'll just go with the first one there. And I can click away from it, or turn that off, and then there it is. So that's kind of an interesting look. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the total area of this area graph here, okay? Pretty much what this is here, okay? And I'm going to make that into a line graph. So I'll click onto it. Then I'll go back up into Design, go to our Change Chart Type, and tell it that I want to change the total, right, into a line. And I can do probably this one here, or I can do this one. Either one will work. Hit OK. There we go. And while I've got it still selected, I'll go back into the elements here, kind of pops up over on the right here. And then I'm going to go over to the data labels, click onto that, go to my more options there. Oh, let me get back out of there. I didn't have it properly selected there. Hit undo. All right, so I want to click onto the line. There it goes. I thought I had that selected. I didn't. So get it selected, because if you don't select it and have pretty much nothing selected, then it thinks you want to do the data labels on everything, and we don't. We just want to do it on the total. So we got that selected. Go back into the plus, for the elements. Go back to our data labels, and what we'll do is we'll go down here, more options, and we've got the values. We're going to put these above, all right, and then we're going to turn them around a little bit. So we'll go over to here to the size and alignment there, and then we'll go ahead and change this to 270, so it'll go vertical. We can close that up. We will, while it's selected, make it bold. We could also, if it needs to be, we could actually make it just a little bit smaller, so it maybe fits better. All right, so a little bit different, but still we can still read it and everything. And I'm going to go back to the line now. Click onto that, and I'm going to go back into Format, and we'll go to the shape effects here, and I'm going to give that a shadow as well. All right, so it gives a little bit of a shadow effect in there. And as with the other one that we had here, we really don't need to have the y-axis here, so we'll go ahead and click onto the plus here. We'll go to our axes, and we'll tell it we don't need the primary vertical. There we go. Now for our last graph, I'm going to bring in a couple new things, or actually one new thing that I think you'll be pretty interested in doing. And we're going to start out, first of all, we're going to actually graph all the way to December, all the way down here. So pretty much the same data, but it's going to look a little bit different. So I got that area selected. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go back into insert here. We're going to go to our graph here, and we're going to go with instead of doing the stacked like we did before, we're going to do the normal one, the regular one. So I click onto that, and before I talk about it, I'm going to just kind of move it down here. And we're going to make this one go from there all the way to there. So it's going to be the whole width of the two before. All right, so there we go. One of the problems when you're doing a line graph a lot of the times is that if you've got a number of different series of data that you're doing, they're going to be kind of twisted looking. So this is probably about the max that I'd ever want to do with multiple series, doing a line graph. But we're going to get this looking pretty good. But the idea here is that it's pretty much going to be the same. We're going to kind of do what we did here to this graph, but again, I'm going to add a couple of new things to it. So first of all, what we'll do is we'll click onto the title, go back up to the top here onto the title bar, or the formula bar, hit the equal, and then click on the title, hit the enter key, take care of that, and we'll go back to the home tab. We'll hit the big A a few times, make it bold, and then we'll click on the plus here, go to our legend, right, and put that at the top, and then click onto that, make it bold, and make it just a little bit bigger. All right, so there we go on that one. Now, I'm going to click onto this guy here, and I'm going to give it a little special effect here. So I'll go back over to Format. Let me get rid of that mess there. All right. So I'll go to Format, go to my Shape Effects, and on this one, I'm going to give it the glow effect. All right. And there's a few of them that you can do here. I mean, it depends on how much of it you really want to see here. Maybe I'll go with the, that might look good. So we'll go with the gray one there. So that kind of gives it kind of a neat little effect there. I'm not going to bother putting any data labels on this. We can just figure they can look at, the side there and see what this is. I can maybe click onto here, go back to home, make it bold, maybe make it just a tad bigger, maybe go down to here, make that bold as well, make it a little bit bigger as well. All right, so that's what we have so far. Now, I'm going to add a new element here, and that's going to be the trend line. All right, so what we want to be able to look at here is to look at our year's worth of sales, month after month, and get an idea of where things might be going. Are they going up? Are they going down? I mean, I can kind of tell just by looking at this. It looks like it's probably going up a little bit, but we'll have the trend do it for us. So, or, visualize it. So we'll click onto the graph, go to our element here, and there's the trend line. I can click onto that, and it wants to know what we want to do the trend line on. Now, as far as I'm concerned, we'd want to do the trend line based on the total, because that would be, all of these combined, versus doing a specific territory here. So we'll click on the total, hit OK, and there's a little skinny, little minute looking trend line. What we can do here is we can click onto it. All right, let me just get rid of that thing there. So click onto it, and then go back into Format, go into the Shape Outline, go to the Weight, and actually we'll do this first. We'll go to the dashes, and we're going to do something like maybe this one here. So it'll be kind of a dash look. And then what we'll also do is for the weight, we'll make it really big, all right, really thick. And then we'll also change the color, and I'm not quite sure what color. Maybe gray might look good, or we can do maybe a soft gray, or maybe one of the soft other colors there. Maybe the green might look good, something like that. Blue, who knows? I can never make up my mind. So you do that, and there that is. Now, a couple more things, and then I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to go over here and click on each one of these different territorial lines here and give it a shadow look as well. So I'll click onto that first one there, go back into my shape effects, and go over into the shadow and go with the first one there. So you can see how that did that. And I'll click on my little orange one there, do the same thing, go to the shadow and do that. And then the same thing with the blue, click on the blue line and do that. All right, very good. So looks pretty good. It's easy to read, easy to see what's going on here, especially if you have that along with looking at the numbers. You'll see that pretty well. Now, so back to the trend line. The trend line is giving us the impression that between January and we look at maybe December here, we've gone up quite a bit. I mean, I would say maybe 50, a little over 50, maybe 75, 100,000, between here and here. And that's obviously an incline. So it kind of gives us an idea overall by taking into account all of the numbers for each of the months, as far as the totals go, that we're pretty much in an upward trend. So we can pretty much figure that probably next year, and we're not looking at seasonality or anything like that, but just looking at next year, it looks like we're going to have an increase, next year. Now, if this isn't enough for you, we can do a few things with this. If we point to the trend line and double click it, a little panel pops up, and I'm going to kind of scroll over just a little bit so you can see the end here. All right, and we're using right now, it's called the linear trend line, which is the most common, most used. Now, if you want to get a sense of actually how high it will be, or how far further up will it be, 6 months or 3 months or whatever into next year, how would you do that? Well, in here, a little bit further down, you'll see this forecast, and you'll see the forward. And right now it's going forward by no periods, by no months. All right? We're going to change that from a 0 to a 3. All right? And I can just hit the enter key. And what it does is it extends itself out. Now, it doesn't relabel. It doesn't, give you any numbers or anything like that. It just gives you the idea of where it will be 3 months out. If I went back there and changed it to 6, and then hit the enter key, that's where it would be 6 months out. All right? Or I can change it back to 0 and be back to what we had. So that's using the trend. Now we've got another way of, I guess, forecasting, and it's what we call the moving average. This is something that you might hear when you're listening to business programs, and they'll talk about the stock's price, the moving average of it is like it's at a 50-day or a 100-day moving average low. All right, and what it just means is that the moving average is just another way of showing the trend in a little bit different way. So I'll give you an idea of what it looks like here. So if I go and I click on to moving average, all right, what you'll end up seeing now is something like this. And it kind of shows you how it's trending, all right? Now, if you looked at that, let me just do this real quick. If you look at that versus the linear that we had before, a little bit different looking, all right? Now, what it does is it takes the average of every 2 months. So let's say January and February, February and March, March and April, April and May, and it plots it. That's what it's doing right now. It's a 2-month moving average. Now you can change that. You could bring it up to a 3-month, 4-month, 5-month, 6-month moving average. So you can use this to get maybe an idea of how things are going. So on average, with the 2-month moving average, you kind of get a sense of instead of having the looking at the total the way it is there, you can actually get a sense of, okay, it kind of went up, like the first quarter started coming down, the second quarter kind of went back up after the third, came down a little bit, and then it definitely went up on the fourth quarter. That's a little bit different interpretation that you see there versus just seeing like a linear where it's just a straight line going across. So it's completely up to you how you want to use that. But either one, it gives you kind of an idea of where things are going. So, all right. So that's about it on that one. Maybe a couple other little things you can do here. We can actually, double click the chart area here. We can go into the fill area, go to a gradient, find some colors that we like. So maybe on this first one, we can go, just move that down a little bit. We can change the gradient to like an orange, something like that. We can go maybe with this one, maybe go with kind of a red, something like that. That's looking pretty wild, isn't it, huh? And we go to the third one here, or the fourth one actually, and change that color to something else. That's pretty bad. But that's one way of doing it. They also have some presets in here that you can do instead. Maybe go with the yellow or go with green, something like that. You've got that in there. You can also change the direction of it, different ways you want that to look. Not too bad. So there you have it. So not bad. Different ways of looking at your data there, using the line and the area graphing type. So hopefully you can use this stuff. I think hopefully gives you some good ideas to maybe apply to your own data. I appreciate you watching the video. Thanks a lot.